Hey there, folks. Well, the Tachometer Gremlin got me. And if you have a Massey Ferguson GC series tractor, you probably know what I'm talking about. So there's an issue here with the tachometer gearing and the cable, and I'll show you what happened to mine. So I'll bring you in closer and we'll take a look at it. So what happens on these GC series tractors, there tends to be a squealing with the tachometer when it's cold, in cold weather. And I haven't quite figured out if it's the cable or the tachometer itself, but what will happen is when it's cold, you start up the tractor, you'll hear the squealing coming from the tachometer, and the needle on the tachometer will be jumping around or won't be working properly. It'll either peg right out or not move at all or jump around. And it's a common problem. And so what I've done in the past is I replaced the cable. My cable actually broke at the end here. So I replaced the cable. I did a video on that. And then the Gremlin came back. So that fixed the problem. Then the Gremlin came back and the tach started squealing again. So I started packing grease in the gear housing here. And that took care of the problem for a couple of years. And then this winter, I started having a problem again with a little bit of squealing, but the tachometer wasn't moving at all for a little while. Then it would start to move. So I took it apart and I found the problem. The gears in here are stripped. So I'm going to take this all off. There's two screws here. So I'll unscrew the cable, take these two screws out, and this gear housing will come right out. I'll show you the gears. So I'll take the gear housing, the gearbox off here, and it's hard to see in the camera. I'll try to get more light on there. It's really hard to see on the camera, but that gear in there, you see the little green gear, the worm gear there, the teeth are a little worn. Let me see if I can wipe this down and get a better view for you. So this is probably the best view I can get you. If you look at the teeth there on the gear, you can see that I think you can see on the camera here that they're pretty well worn. They're sort of cupped in the middle. The edges aren't too bad on the left and the right. But right in the middle there, you can see that they're worn down, and that caught the second one from the left there, which is probably the longest thread that you can see. You can kind of see that it's damaged there, it's worn down. And then the next one up, you can see a little bit of a worn area, a little bit of a cup right in the middle there. So that gear is worn down, and I'll show you the gear, the mating gear, right here. And again, it's kind of hard to tell, but that gear is worn as well. You can see the rough edge right there. And get this to focus. You can see as I turn it, you can see that they're worn. And it's not really evident on the camera, but it is cupped too. It's concave this way. So they're really worn right in the middle. The grease kind of covers it up a little bit. But these gears are worn. So what happened is my tach stopped working completely. So I did order the new gear here and the new gear box. So I'm going to replace those now. My only fear is getting this little clip off. This is pretty small, and I don't want to lose it. So I've got the towel here, a little rag, to catch it. So I'm going to try to pop that off camera, and then I'll bring you back. All right, so that little clip came off easily, and I was very careful not to lose it. I didn't want it to pop up in the air and disappear somewhere. So here's the new gear that goes on the tachometer shaft. There are the little slots, the little keyways there for that pin. And the part number for this, in case you need to order one, is right here, 3758700 M1. All right, so that's the gear, and then in here is the gear box, gear housing, right in there. And the part number on this is right there, 3756565 M91. So I'll take these out of the wrapping and install them, and then I'll bring you back. And before I install the new gear, I want to show you the comparison between the two. So obviously the new gear on the left, the old gear on the right. And you can see the damaged teeth on the right hand gear, and the depth to the teeth there is much greater on the new gear. All right, so just want to show you that, and now I'll install the new gear and bring you back. Here's the new gearbox, and they've already packed some grease in there. So I'm going to leave it as is and just install it that way, and then I'll bring you back. Here it is back together. Now, when you put yours back together, make sure you jiggle this cable. It's got to drop into the slot to run the gear. So you want to jiggle it around. You'll feel it drop in, and continue to jiggle it while you turn the threaded nut here, and it'll constantly shift and drop into place. So you want to make sure you get that cable all the way in and seated properly. So you should end up with just maybe a couple of threads left showing here. There are a couple of times it may just feel like it's tight, and if you give it a little more jiggle, it'll drop into place. And you want it seated straight and properly. All right, so we'll give it a test, but I want to show you what the parts cost me before we start up the tractor and test the tachometer. So I ordered my parts through what's now Big Boys Toys, LLC. Used to be New Boston Truck and Equipment out of New Boston, New Hampshire. That's the local Massey Ferguson dealer for me. They're about an hour south of me. But great to work with. So whenever I need parts, I go there. So the housing is $119.30, and the gear is $16.70, and then there was shipping for $21.50. So the total cost for me was $157.50. All right, so let's give the tachometer a test. All right, here we go. Fingers crossed. Gotta let it warm up. All right, we'll try it. working. I'm not thrilled with the needle jumping like that. Well, let's see if it works its way out. Oop. Okay, so that's how I fixed it. Let's hope that it works for a while. So thanks for watching, folks. And I'm glad I got this fixed because I've got to go out and tend to this. Springtime in New Hampshire. We're going to get about 2 feet of snow today. So I got to get the tractor out and play in the snow. All right, folks. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next video.